Hello everyone, welcome to this session. I am Sanyukta Saxena and today we are going to be furthering our journey, the new series Morphing Tangles. Yes, I again have an apprentice size tile in front of me and I have a simple string and orb somewhere in the center of the tile. Yes, and now we are going to be working around the string. Yes, so let's get started right away. What I am going to do is start with a tangle called 5. Yes, so I'm going to start with a random grid, probably take my O1. 5 is a tangle which is drawn inside a grid. Yes, so the grid probably I'm going to start with my pencil. So I'm starting with the pencil grid. The lines are not very straight as you can see, and then going to convert it into a square grid. Like this, probably one or two more lines here. And then I'm going to add those beautiful rice shapes. Yes, taking a cue from the grid. So that's how tangle 5 is drawn using the rice shapes. So I'm first doing it horizontally, then we'll go do the same exercise vertically, and we will also draw the same shapes inside. Yes, so rotate your tile and do the same exercise this way. Slowly take your time. Let me zoom in a little. Yeah. I'm using my Micron O1. You can also use your PN. Yes. And the third step is to add the third layer of these rice shapes which run across. So go to each. Take your time. Yes. And the fourth step is to cross over, draw behind. This is the fourth layer of the rice shapes. So I'm drawing behind. Slowly take your time. We are not going to cut lines here. Instead, draw behind. The tangle is called 5. Yes, go to each, do the same exercise for all. Yes. The next step is to ink these tiny spaces in between. Since they are pretty small, I would like to ink them. However, you can always add an orb or fine lines, whatever you feel like. Yes, that's entirely your choice. I like the drama. The small little spaces, when they get inked, they really add to the look of this tangle. So I'm going to go to each of these tiny spaces and ink them. Yeah. So slowly take your time, be patient as you ink each of these tiny spaces formed in between the rice shapes. Yes. Do it at your own pace. So I'm almost finishing inking my 5, just a few sections left here and there. Yes, and now I'm going to move further up. Again, I'm going to use I think now we can use our pen to draw the grid. Continuing with kind of curvy lines, adding a few more like this. Yes, and I'm going to continue drawing the grid. So probably extend it something like this. Yes, whichever way you like it, not an issue. And then I'm going to gradually switch to the tangle IO. So IO has just one of this rice shape running diagonally inside a square grid. Yes. Again, it's a drama tangle. The portion which is left behind is inked alternatively. Tangle IO. Slowly first insert this rice shape inside each of these sections that you created. Yes, and now we'll start inking. So if I'm inking this part of my section, slowly take your time. Then in the next square, I'm going to ink the rice shape. You can use a bolder nib if you wish to. And again in the next section, I'm going to ink the part other than the rice shape. Yes, so we are alternating that inking exercise. Yes, so that's the tangle IO. So now in the next section, I'm going to be inking the rice shape. Yes, Now I think I can switch to a bolder nib. So I have a PN and I have a graphic one. So whichever pen you have, even an 08 works. Yes, as far as inking the outside is concerned, probably a PN would be a better idea. So whichever nib you are comfortable working with. So this is how I'm going to be inking, and the tangles somewhat use the same shapes, so you don't have to make much of an effort for the transition. Maybe you can add 1 or 2 fives in between, something like this. Yes, so that's entirely your choice. So in this one I'm going to ink the rice shape. So I'm almost finishing inking my eyeball. As I mentioned, you have to ink the alternate spaces, just like something like we do in circles. One section ink the rice shape, the other section ink the space other than the rice shape. Yes, that's the tangle eyeball. You can see the drama that it adds to your tile. Yes, so I keep switching nibs depending on what kind of space I have. You may or may not do that. So again, this part I'm going to ink the rice shape. This part needs to be inked. Yes, so again I will switch to a bolder nib here. Take your time. Slowly fill in the spaces. Yes, and then this part, it will be the rice shape that is going to be inked. Yes, so we are done inking our eyeball, and now gradually I am going to be moving to my third tangle, which will be quandary. So how do we draw quandary? Quandary is drawn in sets of 3 rice shapes. So once I have drawn 2, the third one goes like this. So we are basically creating a triangular pattern using the rice shapes. Yes. So again I'm going to add one like this, the second one. Then I'm going to close this by adding a third one. Now I'm going to work on this flower. Yes, the flower already has 4 petals, so I'm going to add one more, 5, and then one more, 6. Yes, so this looks more of a flower now. Now I'm going to close the ends, so add the third one like this. Here there will be 2 hidden ones. Yes, again I'm going to work on this flower. So 4 and 5. Yes, one here, one here, and one here. So working on rice shapes, again close it here, again working on the flower. Once the flower is complete, close it like this. Now working on this flower, so you have to be patient while you are drawing quandary. Can be a little tricky because you are working on two things at the same time, triangles and flowers. Need not be perfect, don't bother about it. May take a little bit of practice. Go slow, take your time. Still working on the rice shapes. We are now on the third tangle, which is quandary. Yes, so this is how you build on this tangle. It is a beautiful tangle to draw. So I've almost reached the end, and now let us blend. So I'm going to add some strokes in a way that they kind of blend with my 5. Building that connection. So probably we can add one here. Build that small little connection wherever you can. And that's it. I think I don't need to add more. We have kind of moved into the next angle. Yes. So let us now get to shading. But if you want to add something inside the quandary, you can do that also. Yes, for example, making the tips black, or you can add something like banzo inside it, or you can add striping, whatever you feel like. Let's do a small exercise. Let's make the tips black. Simple thing to do. Yes, something like this. So take your time, slowly go to each of these rice shapes and do this small exercise. You can also add enthaching if you want. Quandary looks very nice when you add enthaching to these beautiful petal or rice shapes. Yes, so even that can be done. I am adding this so that all the other two tangles have some inked spaces. So let me continue. Yes, still continuing to do the same exercise. If your quandary has turned out well, then these inked spaces will fall like flowers or something like triply. Yes, I think we are done. So now the inside space, it is entirely your choice. So what you can do is, if you wish, you can extend any of these petal shapes to the inside and then draw something like the tangle frondus if you wish to. Yes, it's entirely your choice. For example, you can kind of extend some of the petals inside and draw the tangle frondus. Yes, so that's how you draw frondus. Now frondus, these petal shapes are generally inked. So since there is quite a lot of inking already, so I'm just going to ink half of it like this. Something like this. Yes, and then again the same thing on the other side. You can ink half the petal shape. Or you can call it adding weight, whichever way you want to look at it, adding weight. So I will do exactly the same here. Whichever way you like it. Frondus generally has this aura around it. Yes. So those are the two frondus. Yes, you can add an additional aura if you wish to. And that's about it. I don't think we need to do anything else. Some bit of space is still left. You can either leave it as such or you can add tipple. You can also add orbs here if you wish to. For example, something like this. Yes, and you can also in fact ink them if you want with a small highlight. Something like this if you don't like too much of empty spaces. So something like this, turn it into a Bronx chair and it adds instantly to the look of your tile. So quandary is a tangle which has these lot of empty spaces in between. So it is up to you whether you want to keep it as such or you want to add something in between. Either ways it is fine. Yes. So I'm done with that exercise of adding those small caviars in between. As of now, I think I've added it everywhere, but if we do find some empty spaces, we can always revisit. So let's get to shading now. The inside space, I'm again going to kind of keep it dark. So although I have added something inside the circle, but I am still shading it in a way that it is a little distinct from the rest. You may or may not do that. As I keep saying, shading is a matter of personal choice. It's entirely up to you. How do you want to go about shading? The small space in between, I'm adding tipple. You can add big ones, you can add small ones, whichever way you like it. Take your time. Yes, you can fill up the entire space, these rest of the spaces also. I've added tipple in the rest of the space. Now moving on to my eyebrow. So it is entirely up to you. You can shade eyebrow along the grid lines, or you can shade each of these spaces separately. Like this, it's entirely your choice. So I'm first going to the white ones. Slowly go to each. Add the graphite. Blend in such a way that you leave a white highlight in the center. You don't want the entire thing gray. Yes. Take your time. Yes, and then the triangular spaces, I'm going to add graphite inside, something like this. So make sure you just stick to the ends, don't blend too much. Yes, so you want the whites also visible. Very small spaces, probably what is already there on your stub may be sufficient. Many people keep asking me what pencil is this. I have, I think, mentioned this many a times. It's a normal HB pencil. I think 2B, a little bolder than the normal. It's a handmade pencil. Yeah, it's not a machine pencil, so the graphite quality, the graphite is softer when it comes to handmade pencils. That's the only difference. It's no special pencil, as people keep asking me. Yes, it's no special pencil. As far as this part is concerned, the 5, it is up to you. You can go to each, or you can add graphite here, since it does form meta pattern which looks like flowers. So instead of going into each of the rice shapes, which are quite small here, go to the center of these flowers that are formed due to the way you draw your 5. Yes, and when you blend it, it automatically travels to all the petals, most of them. If your 5 are big enough, then you can also highlight these intersections where your rice shapes are going under. But I don't think it is that big here. The rice shapes are smaller, so I'm not getting into going to the intersections. So moving on next to our tangle quandary, I'm just going to go to each of these petals. Yes, this can be a tedious task, but I'm going to go to each of these petals or rice shapes and add shadow in the half. Yes, so I'm adding shadow on one side and then blending it to bring it to about half, so that the petals kind of pop up. Since they are big enough, you can do that. Otherwise, you can shade the tangle as a whole. That's entirely your choice. Maybe you need not add graphite every time and use what is already there on your stub for a few of them, the smaller ones. Yes, so I'm going to be doing this exercise throughout. Take your time, be patient, go slow. Make sure you don't make the entire thing gray. Slowly go to each. Yes. So I'm done shading my quandary just the way I mentioned. I've gone to each, adding some extra darkness in the center so that it looks a little discreet, as if my quandary has entered inside and became frondus. And that's about it. If you want, you can give slight touch of white chalk here. Make sure you have not added graphite there, only then will it get highlighted. Yes, rest of the space I don't see any need to add any chalk. We shall close our tile here. So put in your chop sitting cozily on your tile. Sign and date your tile. I shall see you again with some more sessions on morphing tangles. Till then, have a good time. Bye bye.